Well, as the Cornell chimes sound outside my office, I can say good afternoon to everyone. I'm Cornell's Vice President for University Relations, Joel Molina, and I'm really honored to welcome all of you to our 2022 Cornell Campus Community Leadership Awards. We present these awards each May to our graduating seniors who've shown exceptional town gown leadership and innovation. And certainly throughout the pandemic, so many Cornell student leaders have continued to engage in off-campus volunteer opportunities and related academic work. And it's in recognition of that this year my division is thanking not one, but 4 seniors chosen among many Cornell students whose names were forwarded by faculty, by staff, and by off-campus leaders. Our format is going to be pretty simple. I'll introduce one of the students' colleagues who will say a few words about our honoree, and then I'll read the student's award plaque, which has been presented already to each of our student awardees, and then the awardee will be able to make some remarks as well. I also want to welcome the many friends and family members of today's award recipients who are joining us via Zoom. It means so much to all of us that you are with us. So we're going to start today with Charlie Troutman, who will tell us a little bit about Temilola Adepoju, known by many with us today as Lola. Professor Troutman has been a Cornell faculty member since 1983 and was the first director of the amazing Science Center here in Ithaca. Charlie, please.
Thank you so much, Joel and Gary and others for putting this together. To those of you in the audience, I hardly need to tell anybody at this ceremony that just getting admitted to Cornell is a major distinction that's worthy of celebration, and graduating is, of course, another whole level of accomplishment. But among our more than 3,300 graduating seniors, there's this elite group of 4, and if my math is correct, that's about 1 in 1,000, who, in my mind, stand tall above all the others for their commitment and service to the community that they've called home for the last 4 years. And Lola is one of these elite few that I am very proud to introduce to you today. I met Lola when she took my class several years ago, and I was immediately impressed by 3 things: her initiative, her quality of writing, and her steadiness. And so when I was approached by a countywide association of museums and libraries to conduct a community listening project and strategic plan, I immediately thought of Lola to work with me as an assistant in my environment and community relations lab at Cornell. She conducted focus groups, she coded and analyzed interview data that we had, she drafted the report, and she wrote the PowerPoint presentation that we used to share the study results. Did a lot of work. And what I've particularly appreciated is her strong ability to communicate in writing through words and images, and with very little editing needed on my part. And those of you that have students that write for you know that that can take a lot of time. With Lola, it didn't. I've watched her mature, I've watched her grow, her ability to solve problems independently, and I've seen how, as a woman of color, she has navigated a very white environment with grace, with compassion, and dignity. So I can say that her impact has been enormous. She's laid the foundation for a countywide program that will enhance the educational experience of thousands of middle school students each year. It's an amazing accomplishment. And just to quickly summarize, um, I can say that I'm very proud to have had her as the go-to member of our lab team for the last couple of years. I've learned a huge amount from her, and so thank you, Lola, for all you've done for our community over the past few years. Godspeed in your future endeavors, and we're going to miss you a lot.
Thank you, Charlie. I'll now read the inscription on Lola's award plaque before we ask Lola to make a few remarks. I'll quote from the plaque. Lola worked with the Discovery Trail of Tompkins County to conduct a major community listening project in which she and colleagues interviewed and surveyed more than 300 Tompkins County residents on the need for a countywide program for middle school youth. Lola then delivered results to various organizations and agencies in the county and wrote a well-circulated, valuable report of the study's findings. Lola, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So back in spring of 2020, when I emailed Charlie about helping him in his lab over the summer, I was expecting him to just like give me a few assignments to do for like different projects that he already had. I was hoping to be able to volunteer some hours a week just to help him out, to keep myself busy, as the pandemic was fresh at that point. So I really needed to stay busy to keep myself sane. So imagine my surprise when he offered me a job as a lead analyst on a community listening project. I had only been doing research for a semester prior to this under his lab, and I did not know anything about qualitative analysis or community listening projects at all. But Charlie is an amazing supervisor. He was patient with me through the beginning stages of analysis. He invited me to sit in on the focus groups, and he welcomed any and all input I had about the project. These past 2 years have been just fantastic and very insightful. I am most grateful for the direct connection I was able to have with the youth of the community, especially the youth of color. Being able to sit down with these teens and hear them talk about their aspirations for and grievances with the community made me realize how similar their experiences are to my own growing up. Being part of the community listening project helped me to feel more connected to Tompkins County more than I think anything else could have. I'd like to thank everyone at the Discovery Trail, especially Beth Pallas and also Bill Booth, for their support over the course of the project.
Thank you so much, Lola. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask Zoe Van Nostrand from the History Center of Tompkins to tell us a bit about our next awardee, Claire Deng. Zoe.
Hi, my name is Zoe Van Ostrand, and I'm presenting on behalf of Claire Deng and the History Center in Tompkins County. Claire's year-long research project was a collaboration of the Ithaca Asian American Association and the History Center in Tompkins County to track down information about the earliest Asian migrants to our communities and discover names and stories. At the outset, the potential results of this research project were unknown. Claire was given a number of leads and possible Asian-owned business names from the early 20th century, gleaned from the social memories of the members of the Ithaca Asian American Association to try and verify and track down. Given the lack of focused research on the topic previously, she had relatively no reference documents or completed articles, books, or journals to refer to, and her intended focus was to try to find names, stories, businesses, and narratives of Tompkins County residents of Asian descent outside the bounds of the college campuses to try and push back the local myth that our community's Asian population and history is limited to more recent student attendance on campus. Particularly in 2020 and 2021, as students and community members of Asian descent across the US experienced increasingly overt racism tied to COVID-19, it was a priority within our organization to dispel any historic myths that fed into racist and exclusionary narratives. Claire's research and finding far outpaced our expectations. She categorized every resident of the Asian diaspora in the city of Ithaca census records from 1900 to 1940 through the History Forge project, and in so doing was able to trace and track down a number of families whose roots in the community go back decades, as well as finding proof of early Asian-owned businesses in Ithaca dating to the late 1800s. Her research is currently available in 2 public exhibits, online at thehistorycenter.net/heritage-months, and is being made into a formal archival collection housed in the History Center archives. We are immensely proud of the work she's accomplished over the 4 terms she has pursued this project and the names and stories she has discovered to add to our community understanding of the long history of Asian families and community in Tompkins County. Names that have been forgotten or underrepresented in local memory, such as Kimi Gengo, Wing Kwai Tang, Monroe Asai, David Wong, Hu Shi, and the legacy of Asian laundries and restaurants is now preserved and remembered, ensuring that the history of Asian heritage residents of Tompkins County will be included in future exhibits and programs, and contributing greatly to our understanding of Tompkins County history, immigration, and industry. And I'd like to share a quote from our executive director, Ben Sandberg. Claire has left her mark both at the History Center and in our community. During the past 2 years, she consistently found new ways to expand our community's understanding of local history. In the short term, she's impressed our whole staff with her insight and research, and we are going to miss her dearly. More importantly, the collection she built will be available in perpetuity to future generations of Tompkins County residents. It is a critical piece of the historical legacy we steward for future generations. Claire exemplifies the best and the brightest, and our whole team knows she is going to continue to improve the world around her. Congratulations and heartfelt gratitude from the entire local history family. We are very proud of you.
Thank you so much, Zoe. I'll now read the inscription on Claire's award plaque. For her engagement with the greater Ithaca community through her collaborative work with the History Center in Tompkins County and the Ithaca Asian American Association. Claire's studies have allowed her to pursue more in-depth research on early Asian residents of Ithaca and Tompkins County, an area of local history that had previously received little attention. Claire, congratulations. We now give you the floor.
Thank you, Vice President Molina, and many thanks to everyone in the Division of University Relations who helped to coordinate this event. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming today, and congratulations as well to Lola, Zazu, and Victor. I am so honored to be part of this amazing group of Cornellians receiving this award today. It's hard for me to believe that just 2 years ago, I didn't know anything about the History Center, the Ithaca and Tompkins County communities, or the work of public history and museums, things that are absolutely central to my life today. I couldn't have imagined contributing to local history knowledge, embarking on my own research project, or creating entire exhibit cases, much less being recognized for any of it. I consider myself extremely lucky that a volunteering gig I applied for on a whim led me to work that I'm passionate about. Through my various projects at the History Center, particularly my research on early Asian and Asian American residents of Tompkins County, I've discovered how public history can connect people and strengthen communities past and present. It has been my privilege to read, listen to, and share their stories. And in the process, I found a home in the Ithaca community as well, making my work all the more meaningful. There are so many people to thank, friends and family. My parents are here on this call, but I'd like to give a special shout out to a couple people. First, my supervisor, Zoe, who showed me the ropes at the History Center. Zoe, your work ethic, professionalism, and dedication to community building are an inspiration to us all. I couldn't have done any of this without you, and I aspire to one day be as good of a mentor to others as you have been to me. And I'd also like to thank Professor Chang, my independent study advisor. Professor Chang, you really helped me think about the bigger picture with my research, and our conversations about being Asian American and about life in general have been invaluable as I navigated through the latter half of my project in my senior year. Thank you for all your advice and unconditional support. A huge thank you also to Amy and the Ithaca Asian American Association, our collaborators who helped get the project off the ground, and the rest of the staff at the History Center, Cindy, the curator, for helping me bring the Asai and Tang family exhibits to life, Ben, Eve, and Donna, who have all helped me during my time at the History Center and made it a welcoming and supportive environment. The work of public history is never finished, and I hope that local histories here, especially those of minority communities, continue to grow and touch more people long after I graduate. I am so grateful that I have had the opportunity to serve the community at large, and I hope that Cornell will continue to recognize and support others who do so as well.
Thank you, Claire, and again, congratulations. Now, I would like to invite Cathy Creighton, who's the director of Cornell's School of Industrial and Labor Relations Buffalo Collab, to talk a bit about our next awardee, Victor Rosas. Cathy.
Thank you, Joel, very much. I'm so proud and delighted today to participate in this program. Congratulations to all 4 recipients, Lola, Claire, Zazu, and near and dear to my heart, I'm so happy to say a few words about Victor Rosas. I'm really bursting with pride for Victor's achievement of this well-deserved leadership award. And Victor, Cricky, and Michaela also send their regards, although I'm speaking for the group. So I had the great good fortune to meet Victor in 2021 when he was selected from a competitive pool of applicants to participate in the High Road Fellowship Program. This is a fellowship program that brings 25 undergraduate students from Cornell to Buffalo each summer for an immersive, place-based experience working with community groups on particular projects, and also participating in panels with local community leaders who were working to make a greater difference in Buffalo, New York State, our country, and in the world. Victor and I also worked particularly on issues surrounding police reform, with a particular emphasis on police unions, which is the subject of Victor's honors thesis. Victor hails from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and he is graduating from ILR, my own alma mater, class of '87. Victor has made excellent use of his time at Cornell, and these are just some examples, not all. He has served as president of the Cornell Speech and Debate Society. He dedicated himself to promoting more restorative criminal justice system by securing restitution for survivors of crime at his local DA's office. Victor interprets for survivors of labor trafficking at the Cornell Law School. Victor built a research database on the psychological consequences of trauma on detained immigrant children for Project Lifeline. And as a 2021 High Road Fellow, Victor worked with the Partnership for the Public Good to make the opaqueness of Erie County's budget more transparent. For example, Victor generated resources, including a report and a PowerPoint presentation and a timeline graphic aid to help the community understand issues surrounding the county budget. For example, the finding that for every dollar spent on mental health, Erie County spent $13.60 on its jails. Next year, Victor is going to work as a legal practice assistant for Skadden Arps, and then plans to go to law school and aspires to work as a Skadden Public Interest Fellow. I just want to say, of course, Victor is, from what you just heard, an exemplary leader across the university and in particular at ILR. But my own personal observation about Victor, which makes him stand out, is that he is an extraordinarily sensitive human being. I might get emotional at this point. He feels the pain of the multitudes around him. He has an enormous amount of empathy. And it's this quality of selflessness which makes me 100% sure, Victor, that you will use your extreme qualities, your standout qualities, to go out and make this a better world. And I'm really privileged to have worked with you and shared in the light that you shine all around you, Victor. Congratulations.
Thank you, Cathy. And I'll now read the inscription on Victor's plaque. Victor has dedicated himself to promoting a more restorative criminal justice system, from securing restitution for survivors of crime to interpreting for survivors of labor trafficking and building a research database on the psychological consequences of trauma on detained immigrant children. Victor also worked with the Partnership for Public Good in Erie County in areas that are critical to many partners related to incarceration, housing, and childcare. Victor, congratulations. We'd love now to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victor. I'd like to start off my remarks by thanking the people who nominated me and who I've been privileged to learn from, Cathy and Cricky from the ILR Buffalo CoLab. And I would also like to thank Vice President Molina and the Division of University Relations, folks like Gary, Kate, and Penny for organizing this event. The Campus Community Leadership Award means a lot to me because it celebrates the social impact that young people, with the help of others, can make on their communities. When I was just a freshman, just beginning to learn what it takes to make a social impact, I was intimidated by the obstacles that I observed change makers face when serving their communities. Obstacles like maneuvering regional and office politics, or obtaining funds to make change, or even just understanding the scope of a social issue seem like mighty obstacles that would stand in my way of making change. I'm thankful for Cornell because I've had the opportunity to meet people who have changed my mind about my potential to create social change in this world. Professors, faculty members, and friends have informed and inspired me to see past my own self-imposed limitations from my role in creating change in this world. Cathy and Cricky in particular set up dozens of students, including myself, with opportunities to make social change through the High Road Fellowship. I worked at the Partnership for the Public Good, a community-based think tank in Buffalo, to do research on a number of issues, with an important one to me being the criminal justice system. I had the opportunity to argue for my position on policy through writing on issues like violence prevention strategies and divestment from overly punitive justice systems. I also want to go off script here and say that Cathy and Cricky and Michaela also cultivated like an amazing group of friends. Like even to this day, like the High Road Fellows, which was like a summer program, we still meet up. Like I literally got a text while Cathy was talking about like a poll of like when we could all meet. So that's still going on strong, and that's, you know, cultivating a community is like a beautiful thing. Although I labored on all those tasks myself, I had the support of High Road staff the whole time, tailoring day-long workshops, office hours, and networking opportunities to the needs of us High Roaders. My impact on the communities I care about would only be possible with a helping hand. Thank you for selecting me for this award and for the opportunity to thank those who have supported me along the way.
Thank you so much, Victor. And now it is my pleasure to ask Zava Candler, the campaign coordinator of New York Renews, to tell us a bit about our fourth awardee, Zazu Scott. Zava.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Zava Candler. I use he, him pronouns, and I work for New York Renews. And to give you a tiny bit of context, New York Renews is a coalition in New York State of over 300 organizations of labor unions, environmental justice groups, traditional environmental groups, and multi-issue community groups. And I had the true distinct privilege of supervising Zazu over the past year and seeing growth that I have truly never seen from any person in college. So Zazu came to us already as a strong organizer who was rooted in her community. But from like the second time I met her, when I really first heard her speak, I knew that she was someone that had so much potential. And so we were planning this big week of action to pass this bill in New York State for climate justice. And she reached out to me and she said that she thought that she could take a little bit more leadership on a specific project. So I was thinking through all the different components, and one of the things that we were planning on doing was distributed rallies all across the state. And so I was like, this is like a pretty tremendous lift. I'm not really sure who could, take this on. And then I was like, I think Zazu is truly special enough to take on this thing that most like professional staff in our movement probably couldn't handle. And Zazu led with truly such grace and rigor. She led our planning team. She facilitated all of our calls, set up all the infrastructure. She had one-on-one conversations with leads for all these rallies all across the state. And it ended up being that we had 15 rallies in one day all across the state because Zazu was there setting all of them up on the back end. And I remember just when we finished and we were looking at the photos trickle in and us sitting together in that Zoom room. And it was in that moment that I really, truly knew that Zazu was going to be something special for our movement for a really long time to come. And also just the way that we were able to build our relationship. We had weekly check-ins where, of course, we talked about the rallies, but we also talked about organizing theory and facilitation. And Zazu would give me feedback, and then I would give Zazu feedback, and Zazu was just this sponge for growth, which is a quality I so cherish. And I think that the qualities that she brought to that one experience are really indicative of the way that Zazu, or to go off script my own, as we call her Zeus, has led in the past 1.5 years since that happened. She was first our summer organizing intern, and then she was our senior organizing fellow, and she has done a number of things since then, including more campaign activities, but also leading the youth committee at New York Renews, restructuring it and reinvigorating it. And she's also led in her community, not just the statewide or federal work that we do, bringing a bus full of people from Ithaca to Albany, just a month ago or 2 months ago for a huge climate justice rally. And I think one final thing is that, you know, these are all the big ways, right? We're hearing tonight or this afternoon, all the big ways that people have led. But she really also leads in the small ways. She picks up on the dynamics that are happening in a space that are not talked about, and is always intentional to the interpersonal needs between folks, which is really how we continue to grow in the most equitable ways. So to finish, I'll just paraphrase the Tao Te Ching in a very loose manner, which is, you know, a real leader isn't the loudest person in the room or the person that takes up the most space. It's the person who brings all the people together with their best selves and guides them to do something special. And when that group of people is done, they think, wow, you know, we did this ourselves. Like, look at us go. And don't think like, oh, that person was a person who really made sure that everything happened. And Zazu is the rare case of that kind of leader. So thus, although I have had the distinct honor to watch Zazu grow and lead, it really truly is our movements for liberation and the people in them and the entire world that will benefit from her leadership. So this is the first chapter of a true masterpiece.
Thank you so much, Zava. Let me read from Zazu's plaque. During her time at Cornell, Zazu worked with Climate Justice Cornell to develop a political action team and engaged with State Assemblywoman Anna Kellis to campaign for the New York State Climate and Community Investment Act. Zazu's work to fight climate change and protect the environment has included work with New York Renews, which advocates to bring clean and renewable energy throughout New York State, including Tompkins County. Zazu, please.
Thank you, Vice President. It's especially touching to be recognized alongside so many other incredible campus leaders. You guys are amazing. And I also just want to start by thanking my professors for nominating me. So over the last 4 years, my organizing in the climate space has really been motivated by my experiencing and witnessing the reality of fire season in Northern California and beginning to understand the link between the fires and other systems of oppression. And at the same time, my work has also really been motivated by communities and movements and my belief that a united grassroots is just a beautiful thing, but also something really powerful. And I hope that my work reflects this theory of change. Some of my accomplishments that I'm most proud of include organizing a climate and social justice endorsement forum for a New York State Assembly race happening here in Tompkins County, organizing to implement the Ithaca Green New Deal, developing the Climate Justice Cornell Political Action Team and linking it to student and campus organizing happening here in Ithaca, and also supporting numerous distributed organizing projects through my role at New Yorker News, which Zava spoke about earlier. But I think perhaps my proudest accomplishment is maybe the mentorship that I've been able to have with a number of other organizers, both here in Ithaca and in other parts of New York State through the coalition. One of the themes of this event today is this link between campus and community. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to say, it reminded me that much of my political work wouldn't have been possible without my learning on this campus. But the converse has also been true. So much of my learning on this campus has been strengthened and made possible by my political work. It was my coursework and the vibrant culture of activism that I encountered at Cornell that gave me more of a social consciousness and empowered me to begin doing community and political work. Without a key sociology class, which helped me really solidify my beliefs, I don't think I would have had the clarity or the confidence to venture into more political terrain. And then it was my political work that in turn guided which classes I selected for the following semesters, what other organizers and community members thought was important inspired me to take classes on foreign policy, on housing, and on healthcare. And it was also my political work that made me organized and gave me a sense of agency, which then allowed me to get more out of my classes and be a really active participant in my learning, and eventually doing an independent study on comparative welfare systems this spring. And finally, it was my classes that reaffirmed my commitment to organizing by continually opening my eyes to injustices that I wasn't aware of before. A few weeks ago, in reflection, I made 2 lists that outlined all the things that I've gained from Cornell and from organizing. And when I was done, I really found that there was a lot of overlap between the lists. And I just think this really says a lot about how complementary and interconnected these 2 projects have been in my life. And for my mentors who are tuning in today, and anyone else who's watching later, I wanted to just share just a few of the words that I wrote down in my reflection, because you really helped me achieve these things. So from my journal, some of the words that I wrote down when thinking about the things that I've gained: clarity, confidence, community during the darkest part of the pandemic, political identity, a sense of personal fulfillment, how to facilitate a meeting and other organizing skills, hope, and perspective. So these are all things that I've gained from others who've taught and mentored me. I want to thank specifically Zava, who spoke earlier. Zava, you've been a really incredible mentor for me as an organizer, but also just as a human being. Your vision and clarity is inspiring. And I think it's the kind of perspective that our movements need. And I also want to thank specifically Professor Sharon Sassler, who's been my independent study mentor, for her constant encouragement and vision and ability to put things in context and think about things from the international perspective. Because sometimes in the US, we only think about the US. I also just want to thank countless other professors for courses that just truly changed how I see the world, and all my personal loved ones. And thanks to everybody who's tuned in today just for being part of this event, and the organizers as well for making it possible.
Thank you so much, Zazu, and congratulations to all 4 of our absolutely amazing honorees. You are each an inspiration. You make me proud to be a part of this Cornell community and the Tompkins County community, and frankly, give me renewed hope in the future of our world. So thank you for all that you have done, and congratulations. As Penny put in the chat, we will have a recording of this event posted on our community relations website. There's a link in the chat, and we'll send a link directly to each of the students and their colleagues to be sure that you have access to it. So with that, thank you all for being with us, those of you here in Ithaca and beyond. And we look forward to the 2023 Campus Community Leadership Awards. I wish you a great afternoon, a terrific end of the semester, and a restorative summer. So be well.
Congratulations.